Have you ever noticed how fear disguises itself? It rarely announces its presence with a scream. No, fear is subtle. It whispers. It slithers in through hesitation, through the pause before you speak your truth. It hides behind excuses, beneath your perfectionism, under the weight of "I'm not ready yet." Fear wears 1,000 masks, but its goal is always the same: to keep you small, to keep you silent, to keep you safe in a cage you were never meant to stay in. And here is the truth most people never confront: fear is not your enemy, it is your invitation. Every person who ever changed history stood face to face with fear. Every innovator, every creator, every revolutionary leader, Lincoln, Mandela, Joan of Arc, Jobs, Hill, they all felt it, but they refused to let it decide the story. Fear is not something to run from, it's something you learn to rise through. And yet most people, they sit quietly in rooms built by their own hesitation. They say, "What if I fail?" as if failure is a curse. They say, "What if I lose everything?" as if safety is the goal. But safety is not the purpose of your existence. Growth is. Expansion is. Impact is. And none of those things live inside your comfort zone. Fear is the signal that you're on the edge of something important. Let me ask you, have you ever felt that tightness in your chest before you spoke your dream aloud? That weight in your stomach when you were about to make a move that truly mattered? That wasn't weakness, that was power rising. That was your soul waking up, shaking the cage, begging for expansion. Because here's the truth that they don't teach you in school. The more important something is to your destiny, the more fear it will carry. It is not a sign to retreat. It is a sign to go deeper. And the moment you feel it, that's the moment you must step forward. Fear does not vanish when ignored. It grows roots. It wraps itself around your confidence. It strangles your ambition. It becomes the story you tell about why you never became who you were meant to be. And that story becomes your life. Until one day, you're staring into a mirror and wondering where your fire went. But listen to me now, that fire is not gone. It's buried under the rubble of fear, doubt, and years of playing small. And you can dig it out, but not by running. Not by waiting, not by hoping the fear disappears. You face fear by walking toward it, by staring it in the eyes and saying, "You don't control me. You don't need to be fearless." That's a myth. What you need is to feel the fear and move anyway. Because when you do, something shifts. Your nervous system adapts, your brain rewires, and a new identity begins to emerge, not the person defined by fear, but the one who commands it. Let me remind you of something. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before the light bulb stayed lit. Do you think he wasn't afraid of wasting his life, of being mocked? He was, but he believed in the light more than he believed in the darkness. That's what separates the exceptional from the average. Average people believe their fear is evidence they should stop. Exceptional people understand that fear is evidence they're alive. So here's a radical truth you must burn into your being. You will never feel ready. The ready moment never comes. The right time is a lie. Readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision. A choice to move despite the noise. A decision to trust your vision more than your fear. Most people wait. Wait for clarity, wait for confidence, wait for certainty, and the waiting kills them, slowly, quietly. It drains their passion drop by drop until they become experts at playing it safe and masters of the mediocre. But not you. You didn't come here to shrink. You came here to grow, to build, to lead, to leave the world different than you found it. And if you want that life, if you truly want to build a future that honors your deepest potential, then fear must become your training ground, not your prison. Fear is the gateway, the bridge between who you are and who you were born to be, and the only way across is forward. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped letting fear drive the car? What would you build? Who would you become? What impossible thing would you attempt? Because somewhere deep inside, beneath the doubt and hesitation, you already know the answer. There's a version of you that is unshaken, focused, on fire, and every day you avoid the fear. You delay the arrival of that version, the life you want. It doesn't live in your comfort zone. It lives on the other side of fear, and you will never touch it, never taste it, if you keep letting your doubts speak louder than your destiny. So take the step, not because you're fearless, but because the dream is worth the risk. You do not need more time, you need more courage. And courage, my friend, is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that your purpose is more important than your panic. Courage is a muscle, not a miracle. You don't wait for it, you build it. Rep by rep, battle by battle. And every time you move forward in the presence of fear, you gain strength, like steel forged in fire. Think of the greats: Ford, Carnegie, Sojourner Truth, Rosa Parks. These weren't people with no fear. They were people with vision. People who understood something most of the world never learns. That clarity is born through action, not before it. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't have guarantees. But they moved anyway. They started the business, wrote the speech, stood up, stepped in, burned the ships. Because they knew clarity is not a prerequisite for courage. It's a reward. And here's the truth about fear that will change your life. Fear only has power in the absence of identity. When you don't know who you are, fear tells you what to believe. It tells you you're not enough. It tells you to keep quiet. It tells you you'll fail like last time. But when you reclaim your identity, when you decide who you are, who you're becoming, and what you will no longer tolerate, fear loses its leverage. It has no foothold in a soul anchored in purpose. That's why this isn't about motivation, it's about ownership. Because once you own your story, fear can't write the ending. Your identity is not built by your comfort. It's carved by your courage. Every act of bravery becomes a brick in the foundation of your higher self. The self who doesn't settle. The self who doesn't negotiate with fear. The self who wakes up and says, "This is who I am, and I'm done shrinking to fit inside other people's expectations." If you let fear decide, you'll stay quiet when you're meant to speak. You'll stay small when you're meant to lead. You'll stay hidden when the world is starving for your light. But if you decide, right now, to reclaim your authority over your life, you will shift everything. Because when you move with belief, the world bends to meet you. That's not just philosophy. That's biology. Your thoughts, your posture, your emotional state, they all begin to align with what you believe is possible. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It just follows the instructions you give it. And every time you step forward in spite of fear, you are literally reprogramming your brain to believe in your strength. That's why fear can't be something you wait to conquer. It must be something you train yourself to override. Every act of courage, no matter how small, is a command to your nervous system. I lead now. Every day you choose action over avoidance, belief over excuses, power over paralysis. You are sending a message to your subconscious mind. I am in control. I am the author. I am the builder. And listen. It doesn't matter if your voice shakes. It doesn't matter if your knees tremble. What matters is that you move, because momentum creates identity, and identity shapes destiny. We don't become great by avoiding the things that scare us. We become great by leaning into them with fire in our chest and purpose in our bones. Look at your own life. Look at every breakthrough you've ever had. Every time you rose, every time you changed, every time you became stronger. What came right before it? A moment of fear, a decision, and then action. This is the pattern of transformation, and it is available to you right now. But you must make a vow, a sacred vow, to stop negotiating with fear. You cannot reason with it. You cannot tame it. You must rise above it. You must become so anchored in your vision that fear becomes irrelevant. You must look in the mirror and decide, no more shrinking, no more doubting, no more delay. Because the world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs leaders, builders, warriors of light, and you. You were born for more than survival. You were born for legacy. But legacy is not inherited. It is forged in the fire of resistance. And that resistance, that pain, that fear, it's not a curse. It's your curriculum. You're being trained for the life you said you wanted. And if you can walk through this fire, if you can stand tall while your legs shake, if you can keep going when doubt screams and everything in you wants to turn back, then you will access a version of yourself you've never met. The version who doesn't flinch when the pressure rises. The version who builds in the dark and leads in the light. The version who remembers who they are, even when the world forgets. And this is the truth. That version of you is already inside. Waiting, not for permission, not for perfect timing, but for you. To wake up, rise up and decide. The most dangerous thing about fear is not that it stops you. It's that it convinces you not to try. It makes you redefine yourself by your lowest moments. It tricks you into playing the wrong game, one where the goal is comfort, not greatness. But comfort never created a legacy. Comfort never wrote a symphony, led a revolution, or changed a single life. You were not born for comfort. You were born for calling, and calling is not polite. It doesn't knock softly and wait for you to feel ready. It comes roaring through the noise, through the fear, and demands that you choose. You can't sleepwalk your way into purpose. You don't stumble into greatness on accident. You choose it, deliberately, violently, every single day. You choose vision over excuses. You choose action over anxiety. You choose alignment over approval. You don't wait for the world to agree. You don't beg for understanding from those who have never stood in the fire you're walking through. You anchor yourself in the vision of who you're becoming, and you move like it's already real. Because here's the truth. Clarity is a reward, but movement is the price. You don't get vision by waiting for the clouds to part. You get vision by walking blind, by trusting that the path will reveal itself as you take each step. Every moment you hesitate, you send a message to your soul. Don't trust you. But when you act boldly, when you move with faith even while your hands shake, your soul answers back. It roars, it rises. It reminds you that the power isn't somewhere out there, it's already inside you. Vision isn't about what you see with your eyes, it's what you see with your will. The world around you may not look like it yet. The bank account may not reflect it. The people around you may not understand it. That doesn't matter. What matters is the inner agreement, the covenant between your soul and your destiny. And the moment you sign that agreement, when you declare, I'm done shrinking to survive, I'm here to build, to lead, to rise, you ignite a force that fear cannot hold. This is why purpose matters. Because fear loses power when you know why you're here. Purpose doesn't come from passion alone. It comes from clarity, from deciding what you will no longer tolerate. It comes from pain turned into power, from suffering transformed into fuel. Don't look for purpose in your preferences. Find it in your resistance. The very thing that scares you, that intimidates you, that haunts you, might just be the doorway to your next level. Because fear is a compass. And when you follow it, not with recklessness, but with resolve, you are pulled into your highest calling. That's why the person who wins in life is not the most talented. It's the one who takes the most courageous action. You see, the battlefield is crowded with the ghosts of unrealized dreams, ideas that never became action, books that were never written, businesses that were never launched, conversations that were never had, people who were always about to. But about to is the anthem of the afraid. It is the silent agreement with a life unlived. You were not born to be about to. You were born to become. And becoming takes discipline. Not the kind that's glamorous or tweetable, but the kind that wakes up early even when you're tired, shows up when you're unsure, executes when no one is clapping. Discipline is the truest form of self-love, because it says, I will not betray the future me for the comfort of the present. It's easy to talk about potential. It's easy to post quotes and call it growth. But transformation is not aesthetic. It is violent. It demands sacrifice. It costs you the version of yourself that was okay with staying small. You must choose the burn. The burn of building when you don't see results. The burn of becoming when no one claps. The burn of facing your demons instead of distracting yourself from them. Because until you walk through the fire, you will never forge the steel. There's a reason so few people break through, because the process hurts, because it strips you down. It makes you question everything, and then it makes you rebuild. This time, from truth, not fear. But the ones who survive that process, the ones who embrace it, they become unshakable. Not because they're fearless, but because they've made fear irrelevant. Because once you've walked through the fire and refused to break, you realize that fear is just a shadow. And the only power it ever had was the power you gave it. Resilience is not a trait you're born with. It's a choice, a rhythm. A decision you make when the world says stop, and your soul answers back, watch me. Resilience is forged in failure, not in the trophies, not in the applause, but in the silent moments when no one's watching, and you still show up. It's in the morning after the setback, when your body aches, your heart is bruised, and the future feels far away, and you still put your feet on the ground and say, today I try again. Let me tell you the truth about success, about greatness, about building anything that matters. You will be knocked down. You will be misunderstood. You will be underestimated, dismissed, and sometimes even betrayed. And if you are not ready for that, if you crumble every time life hits back, you will never finish the mission you were born for. Because this world will not hand you peace. It will not offer you validation. It will not carve out a perfect lane for your greatness. You must carve it yourself, and that carving, it will cut you. It will hurt. It will push you to the edge of your limits. But what's waiting on the other side is the version of you who cannot be broken. Understand this. Adaptability is the hidden key to power. Life will never move in a straight line. People will change. Plans will fall apart. Markets will shift. Storms will come. The question is not whether things will go wrong. They will. The question is, can you bend without breaking? Can you pivot when your plan collapses? Can you rebuild from rubble with a heart still full of fire? Can you adapt faster than your excuses? Because resilience is not about staying the same. It's about evolving on command. It's about becoming water, fluid, unstoppable, uncontainable. It's about refusing to be defined by what hurt you and instead being defined by how you rose from it. The greats aren't just tough, they're flexible, they adjust, they recalibrate, they absorb the punch, then press forward harder than before. This is what it means to win the inner war. Because the real battlefield, it's not outside, it's inside. It's in the dialogue you have with yourself in silence. It's in the stories you tell about who you are and what's possible. It's in how you interpret pain, as punishment or as preparation, because pain is going to show up either way, but what you do with it. It's where legends are made. Some people drown in pain, others use it as fuel, they channel it, they learn from it. They say, if this didn't break me, it built me, and they rise again and again and again, until the pain becomes their power, until the scars become symbols of transformation, until the enemy becomes irrelevant because they've become inevitable. This is what fear never wants you to know. That your emotions are tools, that you are not your anxiety, you are not your anger, you are not your confusion or doubt. You are the one who holds the sword, and every emotion is just another blade, meant to be mastered, not feared. But you cannot master what you avoid. You have to lean in, you have to listen to your fear, not obey it, but understand it. Because fear isn't always a liar. Sometimes it's just a poorly trained messenger. It's not telling you to stop, it's telling you to prepare. It's telling you, there's something important here, pay attention. So listen, then lead. Do not let fear become your dictator, let it become your informant. This emotional awareness, that's your edge. Because most people walk through life ruled by their feelings. They wait to feel ready, they wait to feel confident, they wait to feel happy before they act. But feelings follow action, not the other way around. You want confidence? Take courageous action. You want belief? Start moving before the evidence arrives. The brain doesn't build trust through intention. It builds trust through action, repeated under pressure. That's why every act of bravery, no matter how small, rewires your identity. It tells your mind, this is who we are now, and your life begins to shift. Not because the fear is gone, but because you stopped letting it lead. That shift is everything. Because once you reclaim control of your inner world, you become unstoppable in the outer one. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop surviving. You start strategizing. You see every challenge as a riddle to be solved, every delay as a divine detour, every setback as sacred data, feedback from the battlefield. Because life is not trying to defeat you, it's trying to shape you. It's trying to see if you're worthy of the vision you keep saying you want. Do you just want success? Or are you ready to become the person who can carry it? Because real power, the kind that lasts, is earned through resilience. And when life knocks you down, you don't rise the same. You rise wiser, sharper, calmer, more focused than before. That's how warriors are made. In the pressure, in the fire, in the furnace of challenge where the weak break and the strong are revealed.